Okay, good morning. Today's learning is dedicated in memory of Charlie Bash's mom, Linda, on her yard site. Linda, what's Linda's name? Leah Bas Reb Chaim. Her neshama should have an aliyah. And today's the second day of Tammuz, July 8th. And in today's lesson, which is on page 70 in the Chayenu, Charlie is back. You with us, Charlie? In today's lesson, even the most abstract terminology used to describe God's exaltedness fails to truly do justice to his eminence. We do the best we can to put Hashem into the language that we speak, whatever language that might be, whether it's Hebrew, Yiddish, English, French, whatever. But obviously, it doesn't really do it justice. Not even close. It barely scratches the surface. Our definitions are only vague descriptions of Hashem's expression, not his essence. God is wonderful. God did this, God did that. But that's not the essence of Hashem. That's impossible. And even to describe the attributes of God is impossible. This being so, why do we compare the distance of wisdom from God to the distance of action from wisdom, when in actuality, wisdom is infinitely more distant from him? Why don't we discuss the attributes? The wisdom, there's no way we can understand that. But in as much, obviously this is a continuation, we're in the middle of chapter 9, in as much as it is within the power of created beings to comprehend only the descent from level of wisdom, which is, one second, guys. Okay, right there. So therefore, lakach anu oimrim shelagabe kodesh baruch hu nechsheves madregas hachachma ke madregas asiyah mamish. We say that in relation to Hashem, the level of wisdom is considered exactly as the level of action. For us, what we think in our minds and what we do with our hands is two different things. But with Hashem, if he thinks, that's a reality. That's like an action. Whatever that means, okay? Because we can understand that, obviously. We use this example simply because there is no greater descent in the human realm, in the realm of human experience, than the descent from wisdom to action. For us, something in your brain and baking a cake is two different things. You can't bake the cake in your mind. You have to take the flour and the sugar and the mixer and the eggs and the water, and you got to do it with your hands and with matter. But with Hashem, there's no difference between thought and action. Again, it's difficult to understand. That's to say that God is high and exalted and very greatly elevated above the level of wisdom. Hashem created the concept of wisdom. So it's we try to put it into words, but it's difficult. It's a process. I'm sorry, liyaches etzloi. Yitzhak. Shaloi shayach klal liyaches etzloi shum inyan hamisyaches lechachma afilu b'derech ma'ila v'iloi rav. It's not appropriate to describe Hashem to anything that pertains to wisdom. Even in a very lofty form, we say, oh, Hashem is so smart. That's so limiting to Hashem, right? Doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's almost a meaning. And even if by doing so, we mean to express how Hashem transcends wisdom, but it's so limiting. For example, to say of Hashem that is beyond the capacity of any higher or lower creature to comprehend his wisdom or essence, that's not a compliment. Hashem is so smart, he's smarter than any creation. That's not a compliment. Hashem created the wisdom, Hashem created us. Again, even this negative reference to wisdom is inappropriate. It's interesting how the more we try to understand God and we grapple with this idea, the more we realize we're so far away that we shouldn't even try. But we do. We struggle with it. That's our avodah. Comprehension pertains and applies to a matter of wisdom and intellect about which one can say that it can or cannot be understood because of the profundity of the concept. We could say certain things, certain, whether it's mathematical equations or scientific discoveries or, some kind of a medical formula, whatever it might be. We understand that it's beyond our capacity because we don't have the background and the knowledge and the wherewithal, whatever it might be. But there's some relationship because I know someone who can figure it out. Or maybe I'm not smart enough, but I understand it's within the human capacity. With Hashem, God is higher than wisdom and intellect. We don't say he's super smart. Nati, can you do me a favor, Nati? Just help Vladimir with the tefillin. See if he needs a hand over there. Thank you. Concerning Hashem, who transcends intellect and wisdom, it's not appropriate to say that one cannot comprehend him. It's almost an insult. You cannot understand the ways of Hashem. That shouldn't even be a thought. For he's not within the realm of comprehension. What? He who states that it's impossible to comprehend Hashem, he who states that it's impossible to comprehend Hashem is like one who says of some lofty and profound concept that it cannot be touched with their hands because of the depth of the concept. Whoever hears this will mock him because the sense of touch refers and applies only to physical objects, which may be grasped by the hands. If a person says, there's a certain idea that I could take with my hands, everybody will say that doesn't make sense. You can't grasp an idea with your hands. They'll laugh at it. So exactly so, the level of intellect and comprehension in relation to Hashem is considered an actual physical action. That's not something that makes sense to us because we live in a certain dimension. And there is no way that I can grasp something that's going on in your brain, at least with my physical hands. If you explain it to me, then I can bring it into my brain to understand it. But again, in theory and concept and imagination. But it's not a tangible thing that we can touch and feel. That seems obvious to us. But with Hashem, that's all. All these rules go out the window. Exactly so. The level of intellect and comprehension in relation to the Holy One, blessed be, is considered as actual physical action. So when Hashem thinks something, when there's this idea or a will, the will of Hashem, that is a real thing. That's just a thing, however that is. Okay? Even the comprehension of the superior and intellectual intelligences in the higher worlds, and even the level of supernal wisdom of the world of Atzilus, which gives life to them all, is considered so in relation to the Holy One, blessed be He. It's not like there's spiritual worlds that's going around in God's head. He's gonna create them, and that is the reality in Hashem's head, in whatever that means. As the pasuk says in Tehillim 104, you have made them all with wisdom. All of creation is rooted in the wisdom of Atzilus. Nevertheless, even the supernal wisdom of Atzilus is considered as action in relation to Hashem, for Hashem transcends it infinitely. It is thus impossible to say that God can or cannot be apprehended through intellect, inasmuch as intellect and wisdom are not at all the means by which Hashem can be grasped. Why and how? Because as for the fact that Hashem is called wise in many psukim, in many sources, in Torah, v'gam chachamenu zechreinu levracha, hinu loy madregas umailas achachma. In the Torah, and our sages of blessed memory have referred to Hashem with the quality and level of wisdom by saying Hashem is kulam b'chachma sisa. They're attributing this pasuk. They say you have made them in wisdom. So that means Hashem has wisdom, at least so to speak. Why do they do that? This is because Hashem is the source of the wisdom. For from Hashem issues and emanates the essence of the level of supernal wisdom, which is in the world of Atzilus. The world of Atzilus being close to Hashem. So it's outside the essence, but it's the highest level, and that's where the wisdom of everything, the idea to create everything, comes from. There's many other names that Hashem is called. When we call Hashem kindness and mercy, even though he utterly transcends these things, because he is the source of kindness and mercy, we call him kindness and mercy. And so too, all the other emotive attributes, God is referred to by the names of the other attributes because he is the source of those attributes, so that's why we call it that. They all proceed and emanate from Hashem. The manner and nature of the flow and emanation of how and what, meaning how the intellectual and emotive attributes come from the light of Hashem, which are totally transcendent, and exactly what they are, for after they've emanated from him, they're wholly united, they're still united with him. These things are only known to the maskilim, here it's translated as the savants, the savants, the mavinim. Note by the Rebbe, I'm sorry, this note is not from here. Is it? There's a star there. Okay, the takeaway is like this. Trying to understand God is like trying to touch an idea. Ideas you can comprehend. And you touch objects. You touch things. But God is the source of intelligence, but he's not bound by the rules of logic. Since he made the rules, he can change the rules. He's above the rules. So we continue to plow through it. And knowing that the ideas and the concepts are there, even if we can't fully and completely or even slightly understand it, gives us an opportunity to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in some way, hopefully. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and B'rut Hashem, see you tomorrow morning.